Hey basketball coaches, players, and fans, today I'm going to talk to you about the Los Angeles Clippers defense, what they do well, and how you can imitate this if you're a coach or a player. So let's get down and let's check out the LA Clippers defense. So the first thing that I did recognize when watching the Clippers quite often this year is that they run a 2-3 zone a lot. And we know that they're running a 2-3 zone. We have 2 players up top, 3 players in the bottom. And watch this. So what we're going to have here is a really strong double team to stop the penetration at first in the transition. And then what we're going to have here is a screen by Zion. Now, a thing that the New Orleans Pelicans in this case do a lot is a sideline screen, or just a simple screen and roll off of the wing, off the free throw line extended, because when that player goes this way, Zion rolls towards the middle, he's able to get a lot of lobs. But the LA Clippers were able to stop this, at least against this team, because of the 2-3 zone, and a lot of teams do tend to run this anyways. Now, coming off of this screen and roll, which just never happened because, of course, it's a 2-3 zone, what we're going to see here is some really strong defense. So we've got George, who is essentially guarding any drive going this way. He's guarding the pass out towards the wing. We've got Beverly down here, who's covering the pass out towards the corner. Now, look at this defensive lineup. We have Paul George, who is a very strong defensive player. We have Kawhi Leonard, who is one of the best defensive players in the league. We've got Beverly, who is a very strong on-ball defender, but also a weak side defender as well, as we see what we're going to see in this clip and in this video. This player here is actually a fairly strong defender, and then we've got their center, who is another fantastic player. Now Zubac in a 2-3 zone is a very strong defender, but when it comes to one-on-one post defense against any team with a larger center, for example, the Sixers, the Raptors with Marc Gasol, he's going to have some issues. But when it comes to a team defense, which is a zone defense, he is actually not that bad. And in my opinion, one of the better zone centers in the league. Now, coming off of this pin down screen or screen and roll that we have on this side, what we're going to have is Paul George. He is going to go and fight through that screen and roll quite well. He's going to get his shoulder down, hand down, to try and cut off any crossovers that are going to happen and any drives that are going to happen. Then we have Beverly switch off, obviously, because it's a zone and he plays that deep corner. And then what we have up top is a cutoff by that player, who then recovers out to this player here, who Lonzo passes out to. And then what we have is a contested 3. Now, when he contests that 3, every single contest that the LA Clippers do when it comes to the 3-point line, they don't come running out and run past that player. They go straight up in front of that player so that they do not gain a foul from hitting or touching the other player. Now, something that a lot of teams don't do in a 2-3 zone is they never have a trap in the baseline or along the baseline, and this is something that the Clippers do quite well. So the center comes down and commences the trap. Now, what should happen is this player here should be in closer towards the middle of the key to cut off any passes, but Zubac is actually a very good center when it comes to a 2-3 zone, like I mentioned before, and he's able to break up that pass. Now, we see this here again from the other side. He's able to cut off that baseline drive. Now, Kawhi Leonard and Zubac is able to trap him. We have Paul George, who is there in time anyways, but that pass is a bit off. That's always a hard pass to make anyways, and he's not in any position to be able to score anyways. He's behind the backboard. You never want to drive or cut there if another player is driving or cutting along the baseline. It's just going to get you absolutely nothing when it comes to a pass or being able to score at all anyways. So that's just a bad possession, but very good trap defense along the baseline. Now, a great thing that does come out of their defense is their fast break. So what we see here is this player, all of a sudden, he gets that ball right away. He's looking down court. We've got players who are sprinting down court, looking for that pass, and then we have Beverly with Kawhi Leonard 2-on-1 off of a turnover. Now, something that all of the LA Clippers post players do when it comes to defense is they really, post or even wing players when it comes to the zone, they force the players towards the baseline. Now, this is a good option, but also a risky option depending on how you're playing. So if you're just forcing the player baseline to drive baseline, you're not getting any chance for a help defender unless you're playing a 2-3 zone. And then if you're running it right, that center player is going to be able to trap him along the baseline with yourself, and you're all set. But what we see here, and all of their post and wing players do this in the man-to-man, is, for example, when Zion here got that ball and he went towards the baseline, this player didn't all of a sudden just turn and try to cut off any sort of help and try to just contest the layup or the dunk because it's Zion. What he does is he continues to go down the side of the key. A lot of players will turn towards the net and allow the player to drive. This player, however, and all of the other Clippers will then slide down the side of the key, which is what you need to do against a strong center. And what that's going to do is now cut off any chance of that player driving towards the basket. What he's going to be left to do is to try and pass or to attack the basket from behind the backboard, which is extremely hard. But what happens here is he goes out of bounds right here, and it's a turnover, which is something else that happens when you play post defense like this. Now, something that we see a lot of when it comes to the Clippers when they play man-to-man defense in the half court is usually this is the help player, and he is the one who's going to be taking charges. They're all going to rotate down if the pass goes out to this player. But the Clippers play it a bit differently. Now, 99% of the time, this is how they play man-to-man defense if a player decides to drive. So what we have here is, that looks to be Reddick, if I'm not correct, I'm sorry, but he is driving here. The first line of help defense, Pat, who comes down and cuts off that drive. Now, when he cuts off that drive, what's going to happen is Beverly is going to also cut off the drive with Pat, and now what happens is he needs to pass that ball out. And what would you rather have? A 3-point shot or a layup? So this is why they tend to do this. So this is a lot shorter of a recovery area than from here to here or from here to here. This is why their defense is so strong. Their first line of help defense is that one player away, in this case Patrick Patterson, Pat, who is able to cut off that drive. He's able to recover, and he's able to contest that shot. So if you're playing man-to-man defense, or if you want to play man-to-man defense with your team, and you're playing against a team that is extremely good at driving the ball and getting some wing players cutting baseline, you don't want to be left with a player playing help defense down low. And what we're going to be having here is that first line of defense, the first pass away, he needs to come down and cut off that drive. I hope that these strategies help your team win more games as well. If they do, hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again next time.